In this part of the video, we're going to talk about how to actually operate the machine. Everything from changing a spangle color to changing a press unit for a different size cut that we want, loading a design into the machine, and actually making the machine run. Okay? So let's, for instance, what we want to do is change this green out. All we got to do is take our pair of scissors, cut the spangle just about right about halfway down the press unit, and then pull the bobbin off. And I'll usually wrap this up, and I'll put a piece of tape here to hold it. And then to put the new bobbin back on, with the spangle facing me, I'll put the spindle into the middle. There's a spring section on the other side. And I'll feed it in the back here, around this first roller back here that you can't see. And I'll lay it right into the press unit up top. Now to feed it through the machine is very simple. We're going to go behind this first roller here. And then what we'll do, we'll grab our tape, and we'll tape these two ends together, and then we'll pull it through to the back. There we go. So we have that taped together. Just make sure that's secure. Now the cutting is done down here, so we need to get it through here. Okay? So what I do is I go to the back of the machine. And then if you look under here, we have a pressure release, which I can release and then pull the spangle all the way through. Once it comes through, I just wrap it around the feed reel. This actually, the spangle is fed through all the way to the back here. There we go. And that's how you change out a color. In this section, we are going to talk about how to change this press unit, which is a 2 millimeter, to a different size. Now, on some machines that are on the market, there are quite a lot of adjustments and screws that you have to adjust everything on it. On here, the only tools we need is this T-handle Allen wrench, which comes with your machine. We have a spacing jig, which comes with your machine. We'll use this. A pair of scissors. And we'll need just a little bit of Scotch tape. Now on this machine it's much easier to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the spangle right about here. I'm going to remove my spangle reel from off the machine. Now what I need to do is I need to remove these two screws. So I'll go ahead and set my T-handle Allen wrench, and I'll remove this screw. And I'll remove this screw. Once those two screws are removed, my press unit is quickly removed. And this is my press unit. Now you can see the hole size is actually a 3 millimeter hole. So if I wanted to change it out to a 4 millimeter, I would just simply choose my 4 millimeter press unit, put it on the machine, slide it right in place. Well, before I do that, what I'll do is I'll actually mount my spangle first. Makes it easier for me. So I'm going to take my spangle, I'm going to put the pin in here, the spring on the opposite side. And while holding the press unit in my hand, what I will do is I'll wrap the bobbin around the back roller and set it into its guide. And then I will feed it off the machine. It makes it so much easier. I'll come through the front right here. I'll go down this guide. Now this plastic guide, I have one in the front and one in the back, and they're designed to make sure that the spangle feeds into the cutter or the punch unit perfectly centered. And there's two different sizes. There's a small guide and a larger guide for a wider spangle tape. For the 2 and 3 millimeter, we use a small guide. So I go in the front of that guide, and I'll go right through that little slot where my punch unit is. The punch unit is what actually cuts the holes out of the spangle tape. Now we'll go to the back of the machine, back of the press unit, and we'll pull the spangle up in front of the guide. And I usually hold it in my hand and I depress this. This actually releases the pressure of these two rollers, so I can actually get it up into here. So we'll feed it up, and then I'll go down in between the two rollers. I'll pull to make sure it's centered, and that is. And now we can mount it to our machine. It makes it so much easier getting all the stuff in the back with the press unit off. Now, normally on other machines, you would have to adjust the forward-back position of the, they have a pin down here, which actually lines up the sequin. We don't have to do that on here. Instead, we'll just start our screws here. We don't want to tighten them up just yet. And then I'll set the bottom one just a little bit. Now, this spacer jig is actually going to do two things. It's going to properly space this press unit off of this one and this one. So it's directly in the middle here, okay? It's also got a width here which is going to space it off my table exactly where it should be. So what I do is I set the press unit right in the middle and push the jig inwards, just like that. Now with that in, I can now secure my press unit's two screws here. One there, and I will secure this one. And I'll move my table, get my jig back out. Now we'll go to the back of the machine and we'll tape the ends together and put it on the feed reel in the back. So I grab my tape. I just tape these two ends together. One end, and another end. Don't have to be clean about it, just trying to get it on the reel. And there we go. So now let me just release it a little bit more. Just want it wrapped halfway around it. And that's how you change out press unit from size to size, okay? As you can see, it's a lot easier. Now, periodically, we will have to empty out these bobbin reels, which we'll talk about later in the maintenance section. But this will actually take about 3 to 4 hours of operation before these become full. In this part of the video, we're actually going to talk about how to send a design from our software to our machine and actually run it out on the machine, okay? On the computer screen here, we have a design that was sent to us by one of our clients. It's actually a fleur-de-lis that's actually used in the breast cancer ribbon. It's one of the popular ones that he has on file. And this amount of spangles in this design is 859. Okay, so it should take the machine about 2 minutes to run out at 1,000 spangle per minute. So what we're going to do is we are going to attach the USB cable, which comes supplied with your machine, to my computer, and the other end will go into the control panel on the right hand side of the machine right here. And now what we'll do, we'll send this to the machine. So I will go to machine, and I already know that this machine is working from COM3. I already looked at my device manager. I'll hit open, and we can see now the computer is now sending the design to the machine, and it's instantaneous. So right at this point, I can go over to my machine, and I'll hit read, hit set, and it's telling me it's going to put it in memory room number 12. I want to talk about that right now. We have up to 60 rooms of memory to store designs in. Okay, so you have a lot of design room there. I will hit set, and there's the spangle counts right there, 859, and there's the name of my design is called Can 19. One up means it's one copy of this. Hit set, and you can see it's being read by the computer right now. It says it finished it. So now what I need to do is go into M1 setting. M1 is memory room setting, so I could choose the design. And I could scroll up and down through the multitude of different designs that I have in here. And I'll choose the Can 19 one up, which is the one we just sent in. It confirms the spangle count right there for me. And it tells me what memory room I'm actually working in. So we set this in memory room number 12. I have it a couple times in this control panel. So I hit set to select that design, and now it's ready to run. So now the next thing I have to do is set the sequence of color that I want to use. In other words, in this design, I got to tell it which what press unit color to use first and what to use second, third, and fourth, and so on. To do that, I go into unit change. I hit unit change twice. And right here, it's asking me the design color number 1 is going to be what press unit. So I know I want the first press unit, I know I want the first color to be my silver, which is press unit number 1. So I hit the up arrow button to select number 1 and hit set. The next color, it's asking me, I want to use the light pink here, which is press unit number 2. So I will choose the up button until I see number 2 show up, and then hit set. The third color is I want that to be gold, and that's going to be press unit number 3. That's a 3 millimeter. Remember, these two are my 2 millimeter. These 3 are 3 millimeters, and this is my 4. This design calls for 2 millimeters and 2 3 millimeters in the design. So I'm going to use gold for the third color. So 1, 2, 3, and hit set. And finally, the last color I'm going to use is going to be the fuchsia, which is on color unit number 5. So on my control panel, I will dial in number 5 and then hit set. That's it. That's all my color changes are. Now I can hit previous to go back to the home screen. And what we need to do now is actually, you'll get some transfer tape with the machine, so you would actually separate the back of the transfer sheet and place it on the table. Now your transfer sheet comes in 2 pieces. We have the transfer sheet, which is actually a sticky transfer sheet, and we'll separate it from the white backing. And we want to save this because when our design's done, we're going to put that back over the design. You can see that this paper is sticky, so it's going to be sticky side up. I'll slide it on my table. And I use my fingernails just to press it into the table. Now that won't move during operation of the machine. It's this silicone is very kind of has a sticky membrane to it. This we'll save for later. Now what I want to do is actually set my machine to the center of the table. And to do that, it's very simple. We hit the trace button here twice. 1, 2, and we're going to hit set to set it to the center. So if I hit set, the table will move. What it's doing now, it's calculating its size that it has to work with, and now it will go to center. At this point, what I want to do is I want to trace to make sure that the spangles being placed are on the transfer sheet and not on the table. Okay? So what I'll do is I'll go to trace, I hit trace once, and then hit set. And then you see I'm watching this press unit and where it's lining up on my table, on my transfer sheet. And I can see clearly we are well within the realms of this transfer sheet. The table's big enough where I could do 2 of the same design back side to side. Okay, and get 2 done at one time. Now this machine is going to run at 1,000 spangle per minute. Okay, that's pretty fast. Okay, the timing of this design should be about anywhere from 2 to 2.5 minutes. Okay, it should run. To show that, we have a timer right here. And we will start once we start the design. The last step I need to do on this machine is it's very hard for me to extract my transfer sheet with the table in this position. When the design finishes, it'll go right back to the start position, so it would be hard to do it. So what I want to do is I want to set an offset on my machine to bring that table out to a position where I can extract the transfer sheet and put a new sheet on to run the second run. To do that, I press the offset button. And when I press the offset button, now I'll use my arrow buttons to actually position my table to a better location to remove the transfer sheet once it's finished. And I'll just come out to this side right here. Right about there is fine. Okay, that's an easy place for me to actually remove the transfer when it's finished, and then to put another one on. To finish the offset function, once I get the table in the right location, all I do is hit set, and you can see here the offset is now on. Okay, so now all we got to do is hit start, and then we'll hit start on our timer. Now our timer's going. what's happening here is what you're seeing quickly is actually my spangle's being fed off the bobbin reel through to the punch unit, which is cutting a circle, a 2mm circle out, and leaving it on my transfer sheet with the glue side up. So right now we're at 44 seconds. And the design's finished. And we can take a look at our timer here. Ran 859 Spangle in roughly 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And what we'll do now, we'll take my backing on the transfer sheet and we'll put it right back on. Lightly go over it. And we'll pull it off the table. And there's our completed design. Now this will be heat pressed to a shirt for 15 seconds and allowed to, and cold peel is how you would peel the transfer sheet off after the spangle's set.